All the cars are lined up for another race in tricky conditions. Let's see how they get on.
Well, it's certainly not pelting it down with rain like it was yesterday, but it's still very damp around this Assen circuit for the drivers in the Lotus Cup Europe, the second race of the final weekend of the season here at Assen. It's a standing start this time round, but it's going to be Steve Williams once more who will be leading them off from pole position with Mark Schipper, the winner of race 1. Alongside him, Jean-Baptiste Mersnier, Pete Story on the second row of the grid, Gregor Zechko on the stars of race 1, starting in 7th position. Markus Nikovic and Gavin Kirby, two of the foremost production class runners, 14th and 15th. They'll be chasing down James Knight, who starts in 12th. And in 24th position, David Harvey will be hoping for better luck this time around and no off-track excursions. Philippe Loop from 25th could also go well in the drier conditions. The red lights go on, and we're about to go racing here at Assen. Out they go, away we go. And it's a good start there from Christophe Lesandre in the black and orange machine, the 211, who is charging through, I think he hopes, to third position, but leading into turn 1. It's going to be Mark Schipper in the white Exige, although Williams and Pete Story have got the inside line. It's Steve Williams, in fact, who's got the advantages. Mark Schipper goes very, very wide, and you can see how low the sun is. Very, very challenging for the drivers. The sun glistening off the track. We've got Pete Story going around there. Pete Story spins, so does Jean-Baptiste Mersnier. Let's hope they both kept out of the barrier, so they spin a long way down the order. Several others backing off the pace, and I imagine that spin was partly just because they couldn't see where they were going. Incredibly difficult conditions for the drivers, as it is Steve Williams who leads through the left-hander from Mark Schipper. Christophe Lesandre, who once again is going better in the second race of the weekend than the first. He's done this every single round of 2010, and it's Lesandre who's challenging for the lead as they go along the back straight. And is Lesandre going to take it around the outside of Steve Williams, under braking for the chicane? Williams being a little bit more circumspect than Lesandre, but Lesandre, the bravery paying off. He goes around the outside of Steve Williams. He takes the lead, and so Williams demoted in second place. And then Gregor Zechko is who's moved up into third place. So Zechko again relishing these damp conditions, certainly in the early stages, and already challenging Steve Williams, that second place. Then we've got Mark Schipper, yesterday's winner, in 4th, Gregory Rass in 5th, John Rass in 6th, and then Gavin Kirby leading the production class runners in 7th in the silver car. As Williams decides he wants to lead back, he goes to the inside of Christophe Lesandre, who keeps his footing around the outside. Great stuff from Lesandre, one of the bravest drives we've seen from him all season. Although he runs very, very wide there, and he's no defending that. So Steve Williams goes back into the lead of the race. Lesandre gathers it up in time to keep Gregor Zechko at bay. So in these damp conditions, the 211s once more to the fore as they charge along this very fast back section of the circuit. Will bring them through then to the almost flat left-hander, and then the final chicane as they go through the puddle. And then Zechko still challenging Christophe Lesandre, kicking up spray. Here's the left-hander that then brings them into that squirt into the final chicane, and Lesandre already going defensive. Zechko looking to the outside, Lesandre to the right-hand side of your shot, Zechko to the left, and it is Lesandre who prevails. So Christophe Lesandre remains in second place. He also gets a very good run through the chicane and could well be challenging Steve Williams here as they come through to complete the first lap of the race. So into lap 2 they go. Lesandre looking to the inside of Steve Williams. Also in the background, Gregory Rass looking to the inside of Mark Schipper, but it's Lesandre who launches for the lead. But Williams learning a trick or two from Christophe Lesandre, holding the outside line as they then go into this area of incredibly poor visibility, and Zechko, with the benefit of a windscreen, able to see where he's going, looks to the inside of Christophe Lesandre. Is he able to pick his way through? Yes, he is. Although Williams takes a very slow run through the whole sequence, so they all bottle up behind Steve Williams. It's like Friday night on the M25. We've got all 6 leaders fanning out behind Steve Williams, with the exception of Christophe Lesandre, who's found some space. He leads momentarily. Williams then gets a better exit from the left-hander, kicking up plumes of spray. Zechko has found his way through into second position. Absolutely brilliant battle this. The Rasses are still squabbling over 5th and 6th place. So the leading 6 cars making their way into the chicane in the middle of the back straight. Gregor Zechko just on the curbs, on the X's, he puts the throttle down and around he goes, and Zechko spins from second position. He goes round once, twice, finds a gear and rejoins. Well, he's in good company. That's Reddy Lawson, crashed out whilst leading the 1985 Dutch TT. Not that Greg Gazech could be thinking that at the moment, but he's still very much in touch. You can see him sliding in the back of the screen, so it gives Steve Williams a good advantage over Christophe Legendre, Mark Schipper, Gregory Rass, who defends from John Rass. And John Rass unable to find his way through. So Williams pulling away from Christophe Legendre, who has got Mark Schipper homing in on his tail. Gregory Rass yesterday was by far the quicker of the Rass drivers in the first half of yesterday's race, but it was John Rass who came through stronger in the end and claimed second position. Now, will we see the same thing being repeated today as they make their way on to this fast sweeping section that brings them through towards the conclusion lap into the dip, kicking up through the puddle? And Legendre keeping his foot in, but Mark Schipper even more so. So Schipper closes in to within a car's length or so of Christophe Legendre, as plenty of battles going on further down the order. That is Nigel Ayres, who has got Simon Deacon right on his tail, and Pete Story recovering up the order following his earlier indiscretion. Well, it's good to see that Story's not carrying any damage. And it's Terry Verheist who is leading that particular group of cars. Olivier Cunat also in the yellow Exige in the midst of that scrap as well. So plenty of battles as ever in the Lotus Cup Europe going on throughout the field, and it's rather Nigel Ayres who's being somewhat swamped as Pete Story attempts to go around on the outside of Ayres, realises that the grass on a very damp weekend offers absolutely no grip whatsoever, so thinks better of it and should make that move on Nigel Ayres' stick as they go into the chicane that brings them through to end the lap. That's exactly what he does. As Simon Deacon, well, expect to see him going a little bit better possibly in these damp conditions. Deacon has been making that 211 go very well throughout the course of 2010. There is Philippe Loup in the orange 77 car, recovering very well up from the rear of the grid. So Philippe Loup, as we thought, with the track conditions a little bit more favourable than yesterday, working his way well up the order. So this is the scene of Pete Story's demise on lap 1. Do we see a similar indiscretion this time around? No, we don't. As Nigel Ayres kicking up the spray, looks to the inside of Terry Verheist. We move back to the Deacon and Story battle, and it is still Simon Deacon in the black 39 machine prevailing over the sky blue and orange car of Pete Story, both of whom warming up for the Lotus 1000 kilometres race that will round out their season. This one a little bit shorter as they make their way onto the back straight. Steve Williams leading the way from Legendre, who's under pressure from John Rass, and Rass goes to the inside, or does he? Well, he goes to the inside, but Legendre, he really likes that corner. He's found a very strong line in these damp conditions around the outside, so he's able to pull away from John Rass, and Rass instead is actually coming under pressure from his brother Gregory once more. These two have been conjoined really throughout the entirety of 2010. And well, if you can get Siamese twins in Lotus Cup Europe racing, that's effectively what they are, because very often the two cars are running as one on the circuit, although they are, by fighting amongst themselves, letting Christophe Legendre drive away from them. So they kick through the puddle, a little bit less spray this time around. The track, you can see lap on lap is getting drier, helped somewhat by the water being kicked up by these powerful Lotus 211s and Exiges. So they go into the final chicane on the lap once more. Don't think John Rass is close enough to mount the challenge on Christophe Legendre. No, he's not. But Legendre going reasonably tentatively through the chicane. It's Gregory Rass who's probably the quickest of all that time around. So the three cars fighting for second, third and fourth. And we've still got Greg Gazech very much in touch in fifth position. So Steve Williams leading the way as Legendre has a little bit of a wobble turning into turn one. Is that going to give John Rass the opportunity to move through? Nope, because Legendre has held the line. He's able to cover across the second right-hander into the third right-hander, which seems to go on forever. Again, he certainly turns in on the inside line. Now, has he slid a little bit wide? He's maybe left a car's width there on the inside, because John Rass goes for it, but then as they go into left-hander, Legendre has got the inside. John Rass then slides to the outside of the circuit. Gregory Rass attempts to pull alongside him. It's then going to be who is brave enough to get on the power nice and early as they go onto the back straight. They all get together pretty much the same time. So it's going to be a drag race down to the chicane in the middle of the back straight. So they fan out almost three abreast. It's Gregory Rass, who momentarily was ahead of John. John's got the inside line. He's braver on the brakes and almost contemplates mounting a challenge on Christophe Legendre. Legendre moving across the circuit to find the damp parts of the track. I just wonder whether he is running full wet tyres, because it looks to me as if he was making a conscious effort at that moment to cool them down. Again, moving to the outside of the circuit, you can see a dry line is really beginning to emerge here in Assen as John Ras, this time this could be decisive, although this is the left-hander where Lisandra is very strong around the outside line, and again Lisandra holding that wide line, and he makes the move stick all the way around the outside of John Ras once more. I think John Ras is going to get very frustrated trying to pick his way past Christophe Lisandra, who again does the taking the wide line trick and keeps the Exige at bay. Gregory Ras having a fine view of this battle as Gavin Kirby and James Knight, as they have been so often in 2010, battle very closely joined between these two. At the start of the season, they ended up with two very damaged cars on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, as they both are fighting over second and third position in production class, because it's Markus Nikovic, who we can just see at the front of the screen there, who is leading the class in the number 19 machine. So Nikovic leads the production class from James Knight and Gavin Kirby. Kirby, who was yesterday's runaway winner, today he's third in class. He's actually not really making inroads, particularly into James Knight. At the same time, James Knight can see Markus Nikovic driving away from him somewhat. So the three production class leaders, however, well clear of their class rivals, so they can close up on each other. They've certainly got the time to fight it out amongst themselves as they break into the final chicane of the lap. So there is Nikovic, who clouts the curbs, and you can see visibly how much more aggressive Nikovic is this stage in the race. We're about 10 minutes into the race. You can see that the track is drying out, and Nikovic is able to push through that final chicane as we have lost on to the grass. I think that's 114, that's Yves Kureman. So Yves Kureman, does he rotate it on the grass? No, he kicks up a plume of mud. But Yves Kureman, he's going to rejoin. Well, he qualified in 26th position. He rejoins where he qualified, so he hasn't lost any places, but he is unfortunately down at the rear of the field, as Steve Williams now leads from John Ras, who has picked his way past Christophe Lisandra. Gregory Ras still sitting there, an ever-present force in fourth position. And on this back stretch of the circuit, the track is still a little bit damper maybe than it is around by the start and finish line, and also the clouds are coming over here at Assen, so we may get another shower before this race is through. Steve Williams continuing to lead the way, and well, Steve is one of those drivers who just loves a close battle, and unfortunately for him today he's not having one, because he's taken the lead of the race early on and he's driving away from John Ras. Ras doing what he can to close in on his tail, and by doing so is building up a slight buffer over Christophe Lisandra. Lisandra, one hand is looking to stay in touch with John Ras, on the other hand is looking to defend from his brother Gregory as they go into the chicane. They are about to start another lap. We are going to go for a break without Christophe Lisandra in the lead battle. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.